Hello, everybody. Apologies for the short, sharp intro there. I'm trying to get logged in for about 20 minutes or so. Audio problems, then visual problems. But anyway, for those listening on the audio, you're listening to James, that's me, and you're listening to my regular YouTube weekly stream, Ask James, which this week I'm doing on a Thursday. It's timestamp, it's 4 UK time on Thursday. That's because me and Suj will be doing a full review of the game week tomorrow on Friday, and we'll aim to have that podcast out for you around about lunchtime. For those who've been patient on YouTube, thank you very much. Apologies. Ordinarily, guys, obviously start these streams normally with an update on team news, but press conferences today has only been, I think, Scott Parker and Sam Allardyce's obviously intro into his new job at West Bromwich Albion. So there's nothing really to report on team news wise. Tomorrow is going to be a very heavy day from that perspective. So we'll get straight into the questions. I'll go through these in order over the next sort of 55 minutes or so. And then I'll let everybody on YouTube disappear to go and watch Aston Villa and Burnley, which kicks off at 6 o'clock. So let's get into the questions. Dylan Farrell says, hi, James. Think TAA plays the next few games until Champions League kicks back off? My question to you would be, why wouldn't he, Dylan? Liverpool have decent space in between their games, no doubt, because Jurgen Klopp's had a good moan, so they're not in too bad a position. They're obviously not in the League Cup quarterfinals. Champions League doesn't restart till February. FA Cup, they don't normally treat seriously. So as long as he's fit, my question to you would be, why wouldn't he, Dylan? I think it's been clear during Trent's absence that he didn't particularly want to play Nico Williams in the position. So, yeah, is he going to get rotated at some point? Will Robertson? Yeah, possibly, probably. But, yeah, he plays the majority of the games, mate. Heavyfinger7 says, hey, James, did it get ugly with the tree, guys? So, my day, personally, this is boring for most of you, has been a bit of a mare to the extent of just managed to record our Patreon pod with Suj, which I'm not going to put out to after the football now because I want everyone to watch the football first. I had guys cutting up trees all day. I have an issue Thursday mornings while I'm working from home where I normally have a leaf blower, so we don't record on first thing on a Thursday morning because it just becomes too noisy. Today, people turned up and decided to chop trees down. So if anybody's been following my Twitter timeline today, you might have seen a little bit of that. No offense to the guys, I just wanted to get on with my work. Hence this stream being a lot later than normal. But no, it didn't get ugly. They're doing their job. They got to do what they got to do. Joe Finley Badder says, thoughts on wood? That's a personal question, mate. Not Chris, but the wood that's just been cut across the road. See, there you go. Stian Bosdale says, help. How to plan long-term for doubles and blanks when both my free hit and one wild card are gone? Well, it's a very simple solution to that. There isn't an easy solution. So just to say as well, because I've had a lot of questions on it. Again, those who follow me on Twitter will probably know we're going to do a special on chips and different strategies and ideas on Monday. To answer this specific question, all you can do is try and find balance. The other option you've got, of course, is to use a second wildcard in game week 17 and then make a decision to free hit in perhaps game week 18, bench boost in 19, for example. Another option might be that we might explore the idea is just build towards 18. So between now and then, you only buy players who play in the single game week 18. If you don't think it's a great week for bench boost, and obviously if you haven't got your free hit, one idea might be build to 18, wild card in game week 19. So you're not using a chip on the day, but then you can still get a team worth of sort of 11 doublers. It becomes like a free hit. You could put a bench of players perhaps that you want to bring in the forthcoming weeks afterwards. That's a different idea, but using the chips, yeah, it's going to leave you in a bad place. And to be honest, using the second wildcard is not going to put you in a good place either. Unless the only thing with that is obviously if you wildcard in 19, you can hold the free hit back, which will probably cover you for a problem in game week 29. But I think you said you've used them, didn't you? You've used a free hit chip as well. Not easily, mate. It's either wild card in 19 or you just aim for balance. So make sure you've got the 2 or 3 players that you definitely want in 18. Make sure you've got the 2 or 3 players you definitely want in 19. Target players who've perhaps got good fixtures in both, in any case, to carry you through. So, for example, Arsenal are at home to Crystal Palace in 18, Newcastle in 19, Manchester City at home to Brighton in 18, Crystal Palace in 19. Tottenham away to Villa in 18, away to Sheffield United in 19. Those are the heavy-hitting guys you'd probably target. Then that means you're going to miss out potentially on sort of Mohamed Salah for the double, for example. Really not easy. Budget-wise, cheap players. Might be a few options from Everton, perhaps. Newcastle, it's not ideal. Wolves have got 2 good fixtures in Everton at home in 18, West Brom at home in 19. They might be a good one to target, for example. You might want to, carry people like Neto and Podence. They haven't got the best fixture list in the next few weeks, for example. There isn't an easy way, but we will explore in more detail on Monday's podcast different avenues, different positions that people in, how best to fight them. The simple answer is game week 19 will, in my opinion, almost certainly be the best week for a bench boost. Looking at the fixtures, it's not the best week for a triple captain. Better options will come up. And to navigate 18-19 with no chips, you're going to be in a very, very difficult position, I'm afraid. Savant says, what's the best chip strategy and how should I plan my future free transfers with game week 18 and 19 in mind? I played my wild card. Can't answer that in one question because obviously don't know what your team's got, and this is not one where I want these sliding into DMs. You have to find that strike a balance, right? Because you can get... I saw Late Riser put a really interesting comment on Twitter the other day about essentially for him to get to a decent bench boost without using the chip, because I assume he's probably already used his first wild card and doesn't want to use the second. He's not too far off the way the fixtures landed, but to get to the ideal, his transfers over the next sort of 3 or 4 game weeks would be removing people like Button and Mitchell and shit players. Those are his transfers, when really at the moment, knowing him particularly as a do, he probably wants to jump around premium assets, for example. So he would feel like that's a waste. Doesn't feel like it's worth it to get to the optimal bench boost. So it's everybody, an individual case, has got to find what's most suitable for them. Ironically for me, I'm probably in a position now where when I wildcard in game week 16, genuinely, I might only be making about 7 changes. Because the way it's landed, I'm on triple Liverpool, I could carry that. I've got Kyle Walker-Peters, I could carry that. Thomas Souček, I could carry that. Heung-min Son doesn't have a double, but I may want to carry it at the start. So ironically, from thinking, I'll probably be making 12 or 13 changes, there's probably not that many. So I could probably do it and I wouldn't have 15 doublers, for example. But the thing is, for everybody else, I think it's all about balance. And if you're going to land with single game week players in 19, go with guys who've got good 18 fixtures as well. So like genuinely, people like Aubameyang, Leno might be a decent goalkeeper coverage, for example. The guys have already said Wolves, Neto, Podence, the defensive guys, Semedo perhaps. Maybe even Fabio Silva might be secure up front by that stage. I don't know. But I think you need to, if you're looking for balance and you can't use a wild card, you need to find the best blend of balance over 3 things. 1, what's actually to come in the next 4 game weeks. You can't forget about it. Cover 18 nicely. I think, look, 18, if you end up with 5 or 6 players, fine. Just make sure you've got like the best captaincy cover and stuff. And then 19, do what you can with it and be prepared to take a few hits. I would say, look, -4s and -8s probably in both game weeks to get yourself that's a little bit more comfortable. Jamie Anthony says, hi, James, hypothetical deal with the devil question for you. Spurs win the league, but Harry Kane goes to Arsenal. Take it or leave it. Take it all day long. Even Harry Kane can't fucking save them at the moment. Now, listen, if Harry Kane was to win the league with us, he can do what he likes. Football's nearly finished for me if that happens. So, no, I'll take the league. Harry Kane's not bigger than the club. I'll take the league championship, thanks. Savant says, thoughts on the Spurs-Liverpool game? So we'll obviously do that in detail tomorrow, so I'm not going to do it too much now. Disappointing, obviously, the way it ended. I thought we played very bad first half, but we played very well second half. The patrons will know the Tottenham podcast we did this week. I titled it First 20 Minutes because I was really hoping what I got from Tottenham in the first 20 minutes of the second half I was going to get in the first 20 minutes of the first half. And if that had been the case and we'd scored first, we might well have come out winning the game. I was pleased with the way we played second half. We had them worried. We were in the game. That said, I mean, when Son equalised, it was so out of the blue you couldn't believe that it happened. So no complaints about the final result. The way it happened was a little bit disappointing. Liverpool, yet again, nowhere near their best, but miles better than everybody else, in my opinion. And they'll win this league. The only team who can get near them, in my opinion, is Manchester City. Manchester City, in my opinion, only have a chance because they have an unbelievable run of fixtures through 18 through to 22, where they could put 15 points on the board. And Liverpool have some dodgy fixtures over that period, like Manchester United at home, Tottenham away, West Ham away, a few where they could slip up, for example. But by the time that comes around, if Liverpool have put more distance between them and City, which are, to be honest, I think they probably will, it might be over by then. I think Liverpool are going to win this league very comfortably. Let's talk FPL. Hello, Andy. Hope you're well. How are your trees? I'll give Andy a plug. He said he's streaming straight after the games tonight as well. He'll be on YouTube at 10. Optimus Prime says, hello, boss. How are you? The best defense player, game week 14 and 15. Also best attacking for game week 14 and 15 only. I'm going to make my wild card at game week 15. I'm assuming you mean game week 16. The team with the best two fixtures, in my opinion, is Aston Villa. So Ezri Konsa defensively, Ollie Watkins up front. Those would be the ones for myself. You could make a case for Emi Martinez in goal, I guess, if you haven't got Jack Grealish, for whatever reason, Jack Grealish. But the chances are you probably already would have targeted Villa, I'm guessing, maybe for this week, possibly. But if you're looking very short term, I think Villa. Now, if you've already got two, don't be frightened to get a third. I'm on 3 now. I'm on Martinez, Watkins and Grealish. Jack Wilson says, hi, James. Gabriel to Konsa for a 4-1 a good idea, or is it not worth the 2 transfers? I'll clarify, particularly for those listening on the audio. That is a Sky transfer. Yeah, I don't mind that move at all, Jack, as long as you've got nice transfers in hand. And Jack Wilson says, any big 3-for-1s you've noticed from the fixtures for Sky? The honest answer is, Jack, I still have not had time to put a plan together, to the extent that I don't even know who I will be buying for Chelsea on Monday and who I'll be selling yet. And I don't mind that because I'm pretty sure that I'm likely to change my mind over the next couple of days. I'm very relaxed about it. I know I want to buy a Chelsea player on Monday, for example. I'm happy to make that decision Saturday, Sunday, formalize my proper plan over the weekend, and then roll from there. Big ones, the one I mentioned on the Sky podcast yesterday, sort of a Vardy Bruno switch around. There's certain chain ones that I've noticed. One of them means removing De Bruyne to possibly to Kane, then on to Bruno, then on to Salah, for example, which is dangerous, obviously. But there are loads, unlimited amount possibilities. Possibly, having looked at it a little bit, again, I haven't formulated my plan yet for Sky, but having looked at it more than I did when we recorded first thing yesterday morning, I might be making more transfers than I first originally thought. Pushkar says, should I replace Jamie Vardy for the next 2 fixtures before I hit wild card? If yes, alternatives, a 2-week punt on Ings, Werner or Firmino. Don't mind Timo Werner's too. West Ham at home, Arsenal away is not the most appealing on paper. Don't mind it. Jamie Vardy can do bits against Tottenham and Manchester United. It's all about tactics with Jamie Vardy and what's going to happen in the game situation. So letting behind Tottenham's very difficult. But if Leicester counter Tottenham, like Tottenham can counter Leicester, then the possibility's open, depends the way the game goes. And the same can happen with Manchester United. Are they more fearful of Leicester, or do they go and try and take the game to them? I think what you'll end up with that one is Jamie Vardy will probably get opportunities against United. So I don't think it's a necessity to particularly sell. Roberto Firmino would not be on radar. Danny Ings, neither particularly. I'd actually prefer Bamford. United away, Burnley at home. Leeds, we know, are going to make chances in games anyway. And they might have just a bit too much in terms of the way they pressure Burnley. Burnley will still score from a set piece against them, I'm sure, but that doesn't affect Patrick Bamford. Not keen on Firmino, even with 2 good fixtures. Not particularly keen on that at all. If it's short term and you've only got one Liverpool, for example, then yeah, maybe like if you're sitting there with Salah captaincy and you think, I just want to stick him on for 2 games. I don't hate it, but it would have to be very, very short-term thinking, in my opinion. Right, YouTube's giving me a really nice message, which is very kind of them. Thanks very much, YouTube. What is going on here? If you can still hear me, guys, YouTube has decided to sign me out, which is really, really, really helpful. All right, hopefully I'm back. If I didn't go at all, apologies. Jack Wilson says, what's your chip strategy? So me, I'll almost definitely be free hit 18, wildcard 19, triple captain, flexible, depending on what comes up in the future. Most likely game week 30, and that's something I'm going to be discussing a bit more in detail on Monday's podcast to escape a game week 29 blank. That's most likely route for me at the moment. Honest is thinking of doing Vardy and Cody out for Ings and Trent. Faults. I'm always going to be keen on buying Trent. Anybody who knows me. Not sure I'm with the Danny Ings loving. I think the temptation on that's possibly because it's Fulham after Manchester City. He's not at full fitness yet. He's the one assist in the 2 games that he's had so far. So I'm not so keen on the Danny Ings move. I'd rather come down cheaper. If you're going Cody to Trent, I'd rather come down cheaper, honestly. Go down to Vardy, down to Bamford or Watkins. I'd be keener on that than Danny Ings at the moment. Or Che Adams, even. Save the money on Che Adams. Danny Burns says, hi, James. Already used wildcard 1 and going to free hit game week 18 and then bench boost double game week 19. Best use of chips question. My free transfer this week is to bring back Trent for either Diaz or Reece James. Double game week in mind. Maybe a hold on James is long term. So it's worth saying Reece James has a double game week in 19 as well. So if that's where you're trying to get to, I would not be removing Reece James. In the first draft I've done for a wild card, Reece James would be in it, actually. So wouldn't be looking to move him on. Savant says, thoughts on Champions League draw? I can't even remember who got what, mate. I only took notice of the Europa League draw, obviously. Really difficult one for Chelsea, obviously getting Atletico atop of the Liga at the moment. That was kind of the standout. That's going to be very difficult for Chelsea. For City, I've got Borussia Mönchengladbach. They seem to play every year. And Liverpool got Leipzig, was it, I think? And I'd expect City and Liverpool to go through. Chelsea's going to be very, very tough. Very tough. And Barca PSG was a standout draw, I think, which, to be honest, I'd expect PSG to win at the moment. Shamil Galani says, afternoon, James. If you had the option right now to get Poch back instead of Jose, would you take it? For clarity, that means Jose leaves the club today and Poch comes straight back in. No, I wouldn't. I don't believe going back is the right thing to do for Tottenham at the moment. Look, I don't like the style. I don't particularly like Mourinho. Doesn't mean I don't have to get on board with what he's doing. So, no, that doesn't. If Pochettino walks back in, everybody keeps telling me Tottenham are in the title challenge. I keep saying we're not, and I don't believe we are. But do I believe we'd be in this position if nothing had changed from last year? Probably not. We definitely couldn't play like this. The domination we used to have in games under Pochettino went when Mr. Dembele left the club, so he would need to find a player like that. Otherwise, it just wouldn't be possible. The limitations in terms of the lack of pace defensively are being, particularly in the centre-back positions, are being hidden because Mourinho doesn't ask too much of Dyer and Alderweireld in terms of what they do on the ball. Defend the penalty box well. They're both experienced. Pochettino would still want them to play a high line, etc. So, no, it wouldn't genuinely be the answer. Would I be happy if Pochettino came back maybe one day in the future? Yeah, sure. Would I rather generally that Pochettino was the Tottenham manager than Mourinho? Yes. Would I change it and would it make it better for us? No. Genuinely, I'd leave it. Mourinho does not deserve to be sacked at the moment, does he? We've got to get on board with what he's trying to do, whether we like it or not in terms of the style. And I think the majority of Tottenham fans are accepting of it. And I'm accepting of it while the performances are good. And if we can do what we did in the first 20 minutes of the second half last night, I can be accepting that genuinely the team he picked last night, he picked that team to try and win the game. And again, I'll talk about that more tomorrow. But it was actually the things that Mourinho did in the game, in spite of the way we played, were quite offensive. And it was brave. And I can always live with that. If you try and be brave, even if it's you might be, it's defensive, it's just counter-attack. There were certain things that were brave in the game that I liked, and there was a clear intention when he was speaking afterwards and he said, I wouldn't have particularly been that happy with a draw. We came to win. I believed him. for once, I could look at him and go, he's telling the truth here. He really thought he could beat Liverpool, and he was disappointed. And look, if Bergwijn scores at 1-1, who knows? Maybe it all works and comes to plan. Victor Sandbag says, got 2 free transfers this week. What's your thoughts on replacing Kane and Souček with Son and Adams? Then I would have a midfield with Grealish, Salah, KDB, Bruno and Son with Bamford and Adams at top. It sounds to me, Victor, like you've decided you want Heung-min Son more than you want Harry Kane. It sounds like a moving around for sake at the moment. And if you're without wild cards, bear in mind that Harry Kane probably does play every minute over Christmas. So I've made the same choice to go Son over Kane at the moment. It's partly value in terms of really happy with Son at 9 and knowing that if I want to start with both of them on my wild card, it's easier for me to pay a little bit extra for Kane than what I sold at 10-9 or 11, maybe even 10-8 if it goes badly for him in the next couple of games, rather than having to pick Son up again when I'd already picked him up at 9. So that's part of my thinking. Wouldn't be surprised if Harry Kane's got a great record against Leicester. Would not be surprised. The next 2 fixtures are better for Kane than they are for Son. I spoke on Monday's podcast about the Liverpool fixture being better for Son. And if I had to put the armband on one of them, rarely I would have put it on Son for this last game. Next 2 fixtures, they're better for Harry Kane. So I wouldn't make that move personally. Lauren Harris says, hi, James. The master plan was almost played to perfection. And on another day, it could have swung your way. Do you think Son Kane are rested over the Xmas period? And are there any obvious fixtures to do it? So the scary one for people will be the Fulham game, I'm pretty sure. Fairly certain that otherwise they play all the games. The Fulham one might be a little bit scary, particularly for Son, possibly. The good news for those using the first wildcard like myself is obviously you can make the judgment very late on Sunday night in terms of, and that's the last game of game week 15 is Wolves against Tottenham. Make the judgment on late on the Sunday night if there's any concerns on the conditioning for either of them. Part of my plan at the moment is probably to start with Son in the wild card and move that to Bruno Fernandes either in game week 17 or game week 19. But if I've got concerns about Son playing against Fulham, I'll just go Fernandes straight away. So my intention is to leave the money on that wild card. That's where I'm thinking at the moment. It's the Fulham game will be the concern. And the reason it will be the concern is because of the timing of it. It's at 6 p.m. on a Wednesday after Tottenham play at Wolves, 7:15 on the Sunday in 15. And then the game week 17 fixture is Leeds at 12:30 on the Saturday. What might be very decisive as well is what Tottenham do at Stoke in the League Cup quarter-final next week. Because if Tottenham win, obviously then we're in the semi-final. That's the midweek after Leeds. The game being on a Wednesday would be hugely beneficial. But it very much depends on obviously who Tottenham draw. Because I think the way they've done the fixtures, if Man City get through, they would have to play on the Wednesday. I'd probably rather not play Man City. Rather play Newcastle or Brentford if we get through and it be on the Tuesday, if that's what it comes to it. That's definitely what we'd prefer. So and that would be treated important. If we get to the semi-final, expect Tottenham to pick a full strength 11. That said, I wouldn't be that surprised if they even played at Stoke, to be honest, in the Cup quarter-final. They'll definitely both travel, fairly convinced of that. And they'll probably see minutes. It's the Fulham game will be the concern because of the timing of it. And that's the one where you're probably looking at now and thinking, that's where I want to put the armband. That unfortunately, you're not going to get probably clarity till that Wolves game is gone in terms of the conditioning. So that's the one. It's the scary one. It's the Fulham game. James Horan says, hi, James. Hope you're keeping well. Would you prioritise getting in Robertson or Ings this week? It's always going to be the Liverpool defensive guys for me. I haven't changed really. Look, the next 3 fixtures are great. In Crystal Palace, West Brom, Newcastle. Southampton United, trickier. And then kind of between United in 19, Man City in 23, it's a difficult run for Liverpool, but they still have Burnley and Brighton at home in that run as well. So short term, and you're saying priority, Andrew Robertson for me, James. Optimus Prime says, what about Josie? That he have said that the best team lose, and if he was make that Liverpool trainer, he gonna take red card. Don't take no notice of the stuff that comes out of Mourinho's mouth. Generally speaking, that's the best thing to do. Jack Wilson says thoughts on Benteke red card last night. Extremely harsh. Particularly to get done for the same incident twice. It was straight arms. That when you jump, you need leverage. It's almost impossible to avoid. I don't know what he could have done differently. On a different day, he gets away with it completely, doesn't get a booking. I think what would happen in most cases is you get away with the first one, and then the second one be like, okay, look, that's happened twice now. I'm going to have to book you and warn you. Or a more sensible ref, even if you decided the first yellow card, would take the second one and go, okay, look, this has happened once. The next time you jump, whether you mean it or not, if there's contact, I'm going to have to send you off. That would just be a better way in terms of man management of games from referees. It was the same referee, I think, wasn't it, David Coote, who didn't recommend Jordan Pickford was sent off against Virgil van Dijk. And there's a lot of scrutiny about his refereeing performances. I don't agree with Benteke being sent off last night. Antonino Gitto says Rafinha to Souček, double game week planning. If you double game week planning, mate, Leeds have got Brighton at home and Southampton at home. So not sure the necessity to get that done. Leeds have probably got better immediate fixtures than West Ham as well. I think that's one that can wait, I think. Optimus says, do you think Cavani's going to play tonight? No idea, but I know he's got till January the 4th, I believe, to appeal against a misconduct charge for this idiotic Instagram post that he made a couple of weeks ago after he scored at Southampton. So ban could be incoming for Cavani, presumably at the start of January. I wouldn't expect him to start. Is the straight answer to that question. Angus McPhail says, after the 5 sub votes today, does Des Kelly need to invest in a helmet before Saturday lunchtime now? I just think Klopp is just coming across really angry this year, frustrated, and he shouldn't be, because his team are still very quietly going about their business. They're 3 points clear at the top. They're doing their thing. They're in a good position. They're dealing as well as they can with the loss of arguably the best defender in the world. They're doing all right. I feel like his tenseness is making them tense sometimes. Just relax. We never saw any of this from Klopp last year, so I don't know why it's more stressful for him now. I didn't agree with a lot of the comments that he's made. Again, last night, he's got Keita and Oxlade-Chamberlain back on the bench. So were they not fit enough to be used? I know he was intending to bring Naby Keita on in the 93rd minute. Again, substitutions didn't use them. So what's the point in calling for more? The scheduling is what it is. Okay, this week it's bad for Liverpool, but then looking at the weeks further ahead, it looks very good for Liverpool. And I think everybody's got those sort of isolated cases where you think this run looks good. Okay, this run looks bad. Everyone's got a bit of it. I mean, Wolves in a couple of weeks, they play Tottenham on the Sunday in match week 15, and then they play Manchester United on the Tuesday inside 48 hours. So you've got 2 of the best teams in the country. You've got to play them twice inside 2 days. It's ridiculous. So everybody, and then Wolves have got really nice space in the fixtures after that. So win some, lose some. Concentrate on the football. We've got the best team in the country. Des Kelly will do that interview. I'm fairly certain. They won't keep them away from each other. Stian Bosdale says, and to follow, I used free hit because my bench was horrendous during the Villa blank. Don't know why I need to justify myself, but I respect your insight. If you feel better for justifying yourself, do. I warned a lot of people with that Villa problem. That's not going to be. The thing with free hit is 2 ways you use it. 1, use it aggressively in a double game week, in my opinion. Or B, use it as coverage for problems. Villa Newcastle was never going to be the biggest problem. 1 blank, when now in game week 18, and we kind of always knew this was going to happen, 5 blanks. Game week 29 could be 6 blanks, by the way, but probably with a little bit more time to get prepared for it and stuff. And the benefit of maybe if you've got that's why I think game week 30 is probably going to be the best for the second wild card, to go to that plan and then get away from that issue. Ordinarily, game week 29 would be really good coverage to use the free hit chip, but it's not going to be better than covering off your 18-19 problem, for example. So look, you've got my sympathy. The best thing you can do is just understand, like, for future, there are better ways of using that chip. I never understand when someone looks at it and goes, okay, so yeah, I can get these 3 players in this week because they've got a better fixture, and then plug the problems. You never catch me using a free hit in a week. I could come into 6 injuries in a game where I would not use the free hit chip to repair it. Wild card, maybe. But no, I think you have to use it either aggressively in a double game week to get the best 11 players you think you can get, or use it as cover for blank game weeks. Those are it's really when it should be used, ideally. Jay Lodge says, hi, James. Best striker pump for the next 2 games. I covered that a bit earlier. So Ollie Watkins or Patrick Bamford would be the 2 for me, I think. FPL Bulldog says, glad chainsaws delayed due to a better time for the USA. For those with no wild card, what players would you be buying now for the double game week and the run up to it? So to kind of cover off, again, you need balance. You need balance, and it's going to be on your personal. I genuinely, teams like Arsenal, when they come into match week 16, I know nobody wants to buy Aubameyang now. They've got 4 good fixtures, 1 each in 18, 19 that's going to cover you off. It's interesting. Gabriel, once he's back from suspension, you probably get him at a cheaper price now. Fairly locked. Kieran Tierney is probably more than you want to pay. But these players actually to cover you through with a bit of balance are ideal. That's what you want. You need the balance. You want the best of 18, the best of 19. That's how best you're going to get through it. If you haven't got that free hit. If you're planning just directly to the double game week, perhaps because you've used the first wild card and intend to free hit in 18, then obviously you're going to go and target the 10 teams with doubles. So Liverpool would be the priority for me personally. Best immediate fixtures. And then you come back to the ones you think is not so great. So West Ham for me, difficult little run of fixtures. Wolves, difficult run of fixtures. They'd probably be the 2 I'd be waiting on a little bit. Leeds is indifferent depending on your entry point. I think targeting them in match week 15 when they play Burnley is quite reasonable. Burnley, West Brom, Tottenham before the double is okay. Brighton, ironically enough, if you want a cheap one, good entry point this week against Sheffield United. So I think those with the doubles, you'd look at if it's rotational, Wolves this week away to Burnley, not too bad. Brighton, if you wanted a cheapie, although there's problems there with the goalkeeper situation, but say you went to get Tariq Lamptey as part of that bench boost, probably not ideal when they got Man City and Leeds away in a double. But if you want to attack that sort of player this week, Sheffield United seems very reasonable. Perhaps even someone like Pascal Gross might be on penalties. Christmas period nightmare with Brighton, though. I can't see me going anywhere near them with the likely rotation. So look at what you want to get towards and then judge from there what your entry points to teams would be. That's what I'd recommend. Dylan Farrell said, who's your favourite transfer targets over the next few game weeks for each position in FPL? So I don't know what I'm doing transfer-wise this week. The intention is to sell Phil Foden. It's quite possible that I'm going to come down to someone cheaper, like Harrison, Rafinha, Jared Bowen, someone like that. Quite possible. But I'm in quite a strong position ahead of the wild card. And one of the reasons I'm in a really strong position is I'm going to have a big selection headache personally in game week 15. So wherever I buy, there's 2 things that I want to bear in mind. One is I'm only actually thinking of the one fixture, which is someone to target in game week 14. The second is I'm also conscious on value. So it might even be if I decide that I want someone like Jack Harrison potentially as part of the wild card. If I think I can nick the value out of him now, I might do that actually. It's odd. I'm about to come into the wild card and I feel like I'm finally happy, very nearly, with what I've got squad-wise. 15, I could end up rolling, honestly. Or it's liable. I'm likely to make a sideways transfer that gets me some value from someone I don't want on the wild card versus someone I do, for example. In terms of who to target, again, to repeat what I'd said earlier, doing Villa. Villa, the immediate target for me at the moment. Ideally, it would have been last week, but if you haven't already, I think Villa would be the one to target personally. By the time this recording goes out, they're probably already losing to Burnley, but it is what it is. Matthew Halliday. Hi, James. Which players with a single fixture in game week 19 are you most likely to have at present? Me, probably none of them. If there was one, it would probably be Son. If I got into a position, say, for example, where I wanted to go Son to Fernandes in 19 and Fernandes got injured in the meantime, I'm not sure I'd make the move to someone like Rashford when one of their doubles is away to Liverpool, for example. I'd possibly just leave Son in there, for example. Conscious with Son as well, though, obviously the immediate fixture afterwards is Liverpool at home. I know obviously he scored against them yesterday, but it's not a big hauling game, to be honest. And in an odd way, sometimes for Tottenham particularly, you've actually got more chance of getting in behind them in the game at Anfield. If we go into the position now where they come to us in match week 20 and there's still only 3 points difference between the two teams, Liverpool aren't going to want to get beat, are they? So they might come and play a little bit safer then than they normally would, for example. That's my answer to that. Matthew Halliday says, that's the one we just did. Shamil Gulai said, would you do Mahrez and Foden to Son and Souček would leave no City players? Yeah, probably, but it's really dependent on your plan afterwards, Sham. If it's very short term, I'm not convinced that I would with the Newcastle home game in the week. You'll know I'm a big fan of Souček. Obviously, I love Sonny. I mean, value wise, I wouldn't be surprised if he's 11 million next year in FPL. So you're never really buying him at a bad price. It's just annoying that the ownership's so high. But with Tottenham's 2, Leicester and Wolves, he ain't going to go off, mate. I don't think so. I probably wouldn't. Honestly, I wouldn't rule out me selling Son this week. If I come to a conclusion in the next 36 hours or so that I don't want to start with him in the wild card, I might actually get rid now. I might do that. Adrash says, hi, James. I have a simple question. Do you think best team lost yesterday in Liverpool versus Spurs? No, I don't, mate. I think a draw probably would have been about right. I don't think Liverpool deserved to lose the game because I think they could have had it well and truly won in the first half. Joe Finney Batter says, what to do with Gabriel in Sky? First thoughts of Zuma James on Monday for captain and think about the Arsenal single game days later. Yeah, it's a reasonable strategy, Joe. As one mentioned earlier, and it's going to be too late for those listening to the audio, so ignore this. But there are games, obviously, with Villa tonight, if that interests you. So there are many different ways you can go with that for Sky. Mikey says, good afternoon, James. I'm planning KDB, Rafinha to Bruno Neto for free. Wildcard in 16, so 2-week punt on Neto. Yep, don't mind that. Just a question to throw back at that would be who's your captain in game week 15. That's all I'd say to that, Mikey, because KDB / Salah, probably the standouts. You got Salah and you captain him anyway. Don't mind it so much. But KDB versus Southampton, Newcastle, Bruno versus Leeds, Leicester. He's not better. Probably rather have KDB for the 2. Possibly. Give that some second thought, mate. But I like the idea of Neto. But again, I'm not convinced it's the right time, to be honest. Burnley, Tottenham, United. Again, it depends where you're at with chips, which is always difficult to answer when you're being asked these questions. Angus McPhail says, do you think getting a goal at the right end of the pitch for Aubameyang last night could set him off on a little run now? It could. But Arsenal still need to find a way to get the best out of him. It's probably not going to be in the next 2 games. Very interesting from game week 16 onwards, honestly. Very interesting. Ash said, thoughts on Benteke's 2 very soft yellow cards, which did already answer for someone else, Ash. Sheila, best Leeds midfielder to target on game week 16 wildcard. I think I allowed myself to be concerned about Harrison when Rafinha got in the team, that it was going to affect him minutes-wise a little bit. And Rafinha felt like, I don't know, the fresh new face when he scored at Everton, for example. But when we reviewed that game, one of the things I said, I can't believe Harrison not scored in that game. Loved his goal last night. Weldy, one of the best goals you'll see this season. Brilliant goal. I think I prefer him because there's more off-the-ball stuff. Rafinha looks better to the eye, but Harrison is probably going to get into more interesting positions. And considering they overload so much when they attack, that makes him an exciting prospect. So I think it would be Harrison for me. As he's just got the return as well, your timing's probably quite good from a value perspective as well. Chum says, thoughts on Liverpool Jones as an FPL asset, only 4.4 million. By the way, your content is excellent. Many thanks. Thank you very much. The problem with Jones, a little bit kind of like what puts me off Firmino, you're just denying yourself other good assets. If you're not interested in defensively, so Trent Robertson, for example, if you don't want any of that, then that brings someone like Jones into the conversation. It's worth saying, as I already mentioned, obviously, Keita and Oxlade-Chamberlain were both on the bench last night, and you've still got Thiago to come back as well. And suddenly that becomes very competitive in that area for Liverpool, where you're going from having to play the same 3 every week to 6. And don't rule out the prospect that Liverpool will highly likely, in my opinion, buy a centre-back in January. to play with either Matip or Fabinho. If it's with Matip, then Fabinho can go back in midfield as well, right? So then it's 7. So if it's short term, don't mind it. Personally, not keen. And you might find you're stuck with it for a while and then you're blocked. You're blocked from other Liverpool assets that you may potentially want. So I wouldn't be keen. What I would say to add from a non-FPL perspective, I thought he was arguably man of the match last night. Absolutely outstanding for a young boy. Doesn't play like a 19-year-old kid. Very, very good. FPL Soccer Crazy, the next 5 to 10 weeks, you have to choose one, De Bruyne or Salah. For me, it would be Salah. Unbelievably, yeah. And if I'm saying that, considering people know how frustrated I get with Salah and how much I rate Kevin De Bruyne, I think that makes it fairly clear, doesn't it? That KDB's got a great set of fixtures, but Mohamed Salah does in the immediate. And I think 10 weeks is too long a period to look over. So you can obviously reverse that transfer after the doubles, for example, if you want to, when Liverpool walk into Tottenham and then Man City, you've got West Brom, Sheffield United, Burnley. But the immediate, and because of my strategy as well, he's going to take me towards Salah as the priority for me. So bear in mind, I'm saying that with a very switched on. Salah will have a double game week, KDB won't. So that is going to influence my position. But then over the next 4 fixtures as well, before that, I would still prefer Mohamed Salah. So that would be my answer. If I didn't have any of the chips, that would maybe alter my thinking as well, because City have potentially got 2 good fixtures there in Brighton and Palace over 18 and 19. Aaron Champion says Salah captain and Charlie Taylor in for Son and Robertson. Can't get Salah otherwise. Yeah, it's okay. I'm probably going to captain Salah this game week, but Palace on a good little run, you know. It's not great. Captaincy will probably get quite split this week because Tottenham have a home fixture against Leicester, so there will be popularity for Kane and Son. Fernandes against Leeds. He's arguably the standout, actually. Kevin De Bruyne away to Southampton. He will potentially, depending on positioning and City setup, find position space a little bit easier than what normally comes for him. So they're all very viable for the weekend. I wouldn't be desperate to do it. I can understand the week after you might be when they play West Brom at home, when obviously he is the standout. And with a free midweek the week before that game, you can't believe that he won't start. Aaron also says, do you fancy Kane to keep up his record form against Leicester? So Harry Kane does have a great record against Leicester. It's well documented. I think he scored more against them than any other team. There's the hat-trick in 14-15, the 4-goal haul at the end of 16-17. I might be getting my years a little mixed up here. But that's 7 goals, and there's 2 goals against Leicester during the restart period as well. That's where 9 of the goals come from is 3 games. That's pretty phenomenal. He does have a good record for it against them. I think what all that does is gives players confidence. So for him to believe, look, I normally score against these, that's great. But then Harry Kane has so much self-belief that I think he goes into every game like that anyway. What I would say about him as well, he obviously missed a sitter last night at 1-1 from a corner, which he's concentrated so hard and heading it down. He's headed it down too much. He didn't need to. He was so close. He possibly could have headed it straight at Alisson. It might have gone in. Harry doesn't normally miss big chances in consecutive games. I'd warn you of that. So I don't go into any game thinking Harry Kane won't score today. The closest you'll get to that is the fact I've just sold him before Liverpool. But yeah, you asked me, do I think Kane scores on Sunday? Yeah, probably. I always think Harry can score. Giannis Giannopoulos says, just to say hi and thank you for your hard work. Thank you, Giannis. Declan Burns says, hi, James. Lamptey or Konsa to replace Ayling for 2 weeks before game week 16 wildcard. Prefer Konsa, but Lamptey's got the best fixture of 4 fixtures if you factor that in. Obviously, Sheffield United at home this week. So close one. Personally, I think I would probably prefer Konsa. To be honest, I wouldn't foresee a Brighton clean sheet at West Ham in match week 15. Then you probably only need 1 from Villa, and it's West Brom next for them to match that. So with Palace at home afterwards, I would just lean to Konsa. If you're someone who really likes attacking defensive players, I think it's very reasonable to go Lamptey instead. Edwin Guan says, hello, James. What to do with bloody Phil Foden? Downgrade to Souček or any other good prospects? Yeah, Souček's the one, mate. He's the one down there. You've obviously got Neto coming into the conversation now. Good fixture this week away to Burnley. Some would argue it isn't. Tottenham, Manchester United in that period of the two games really close together is awkward, although he looks like a bit of an animal at the moment and he'll probably play all the games. Then they've got a nicer run. The Leeds boys, obviously. So there's a few options. If I decide I want to do something frisky, like move Son to Fernandes this week, which I can do, then he'll end up staying for me. The player that I'm tempted to buy, and it would really be a punt, and I've got the exact money to do it, is Christian Pulisic. Now, I know most people can't go from Foden and make that move, but I've got the money to do that in one go. If Chelsea had two better fixtures than West Ham and Arsenal, I think I'd be all over that. I was quite impressed with him Tuesday. Lampard's comments after the game about kind of wanting to rotate a little bit would be a little bit concerning, but look, I think when he's at full pelt, he's probably their best attacking weapon. So he could well be a punt for me for 2 game weeks, Christian Pulisic, particularly if I've got no interest in what I want to do with the money in game week 15, for example. Chris Duran says, how confident or not are you feeling about Spurs Leicester match? Leicester look great one week and then awful the next. So hard to know what to expect, in my opinion. So Leicester will dominate the game. Same pattern. Exactly the same pattern. The Wolves game is a harder read. Leicester game will be a similar pattern. I think Leicester aren't going to kick the ball back to Tottenham. Tottenham might kick it back to Leicester. I know it sounds ridiculous, but Tottenham will play more direct balls than Leicester because the over-the-top for Vardy is just not going to be on for Leicester. And then by default, I think Leicester find themselves having more of the ball and drawing on and dominating. And then you get, this is easy. Then you leave gaps. Then that's what Tottenham want to explode. And presuming Siyunchu's not back for Leicester, I'd quite fancy Tottenham to win at the moment on Sunday. I'm confident. Tough game. Obviously, they're a good side. Jekyll and Hyde. Look, you see, I mean, to sum them up perfectly, look at what they did at Man City, winning 5-2. They lost 3-0 at Liverpool and they could have lost by 5 or 6. I think most people thought they'd beat Everton this week. I spoke about the difficulty of that fixture because of Everton narrowing the game because they've been forced into this with Godfrey and Holgate in the fullback positions. Tottenham will probably play with their fullbacks quite tight and that as well. So it'll be difficult for space-wise for Leicester, so I feel confident. Cyrus Bernard says, hi, James, taking out Vardy and Harvey Barnes plus 0.5 in the bank. Who should I get? Well, if you go for Ollie Watkins, that's going to give you a ton of money, isn't it? Difficult one because I don't know what else you've got in the rest of the squad, but I'd attempt to just say Watkins and Grealish, but I'm guessing you've probably got Grealish. Tough one. It's difficult because my headset is so much focused on 2 fixtures only. So I'm finding long-term strategy thinking for transfers for this week really difficult to comprehend. So I just keep looking at Villa and going, you've got West Brom and Palace, you've got the next best 2, for example. That just massively stands out to me over and over again. If you're looking at it a little bit longer term, in that value area, obviously, look, if you come right down on Vardy, I don't know where it leaves you money-wise. Can you get up towards Fernandes or Salah, for example? You probably can't. FPL Bulldog says, would you keep the likes of KDB, Kane and Grealish through the double game week if there's value built up in them? So Jack Grealish is going to go, I think, for me on the wild card. Quite straightforward. Just kind of goes back to what I said. 2 great fixtures. Then I'm going to wild card Chelsea, Man United, Tottenham. 3 tough games. Now, Jack Grealish can return in all those games. Of course he can, but he's not likely to go off big in any of them games. So he's expendable. Then he doesn't have the double. By this point, I start thinking, do you know what? If he starts blanking, his value is going to start dipping. And then if I want to get him back, I can. It's Burnley straight afterwards, and he might be an immediate priority for me in game week 20. But I think Grealish will go. Kane, I think, will go. The difficulty with Kane and Son is, and again, this is one for balance. Obviously, the game week 20 fixture is really good. Away to, at the moment, the poorest team in the league, although they don't often take the hiding, right? It's only really Chelsea that have given the slapping. Southampton 3-0, yeah, it could have been more. But nobody goes to Bramall Lane and goes off, really, right? I think United were the only ones to score more than twice there last season, I want to say, was in a 3-3 draw. The same fixture that's obviously happening tonight last season. I think that's the only one. So no one goes to Bramall Lane and gets loads. But from that, they're good ones for the balance. Kane, Son. For those who are without the chips, Kane, Son, or Aubameyang, the City guys, they're the good ones for the balance. And the beauty with Kane, Son is if you want a bench boost as well, they'll play. Shouldn't be any issue with that, where that fixture lands. Tim Wilton Davis says, what do you think about Kane's tactic of letting the opponent jump over his head and then collapsing like a bag of sugar to gain a foul? Okay. So this obviously gets really highlighted. Dominic Calvert-Lewin did exactly the same thing to Kurt Zouma in the Everton-Chelsea game last week. Nothing got said. So, look, what he does, he's trying to win a free kick. Is he trying to intentionally hurt people? No. Is it dangerous? Yes. But until someone puts a law in place, I don't think Kane's doing it trying to break anyone's neck. He's genuinely doing it, trying to do what he did against Brighton, which is win a free kick. Referees should understand, this is very simple when these incidents happen. Does Kane look for his opponent? If Kane looks for his opponent, it should be a free kick. And that's it. And you can almost end the problem before it happens from that perspective. Is he the only one who does it though? Definitely not. Definitely not. But he'll always be the one that gets the scrutiny. And there's obviously been a couple of instances. The Adam Lallana one, Aaron Cresswell, and there was one in the Arsenal game as well, which obviously it proves to be very dangerous. And I get that. Do you want to see someone go over like that? No. Kane's trying to do what anybody does, right? He's trying to win a free kick for his team. Is it dangerous? Yes, unless you get a law implemented that completely outlaws it. And I don't know how you can. I think that the key is when Kane looks for him, you know he's trying to gain the foul. And referees should know that that's what he's trying to do and should give the free kick. And if Kane's never winning free kicks from these positions, then he's going to stop doing it because he thinks, shit, they've cottoned on to me. I need to find a different way here. So, look, I'm obviously not a lover. When I see it, I wince. I'm sure everybody does. He's not the only player doing it. Alex Peary says, hi, James. Thought I'd try a non-FPL question to mix it up for you. I appreciate that, Alex. What did you think of Curtis Jones last night? I've already answered it. I'm biased, but thought he was brilliant. It looks possible for England in the summer. Yeah, I covered off. Really good. Really, I thought it was man of the match, probably, mate. Callum Stokes, afternoon, James, top 4 and bottom 3 predictions. Okay. Top 4, Liverpool, City, Tottenham, Chelsea, probably. Bottom 3, I can't see Sheffield United getting out of it now. I think it'd probably still be Sheffield United, West Brom, Fulham. Burnley have got the experience. And do you know what? They might be about to go on a run. They get a good result against Wolves. They'll look at the next 3, Leeds, Sheffield United, Fulham, and think they can pick up more points. Really pivotal period for Burnley. Genuinely, we could be in 4 weeks and Burnley might be up to 12th, 13th. I wouldn't be surprised. If it goes badly from this to win a relegation zone, then they're in big trouble. And from there, I think they'd go instead of Fulham at the moment. Big Sam's in for West Brom. Really, I should cover that a little bit. We will do tomorrow as well, I guess. It kind of leaves a sour taste that Slaven Bilic was sacked after the Man City draw, but I think we all know the decision was obviously made prior to the draw at City. So it was that you take charge for the game, we're going to sack you afterwards. That always makes you feel a bit uncomfortable when that happens. You think, oh, you give someone a job to do, but you didn't want him to do the job, basically. They came up very limply. West Brom were in a really strong position in the Championship. They finished the season really badly. So I think they was always in a position, if they started badly, that he was going to be in trouble. What's annoying is he was given no backing from the board in terms of transfer windows. So they basically only got in the players that helped get them up, like Pereira, Diangana, Kravinovic. They haven't really spent otherwise. Colin Grant was a Championship striker for Huddersfield, who played left wing a lot last season, by the way. So didn't really have the tools. They were in the mix. They were in the fight, right? They got some important results like the Sheffield United victory, which was giving them a chance. However, in spite of all of what I said, and it feels a little bit unfair, I don't believe there's many of us that think now they haven't got a better chance of surviving. Sam Allardyce knows how to get teams out of it. It won't be pretty. West Brom fans probably feel like they've been through this before with Tony Pulis. You have. You're about to go through it again. Tony Pulis for a small period was very successful at West Brom, and then it was going bad. However, when it started going bad for West Brom, it didn't get any better when they sacked Tony Pulis. And I think eventually it will come circle where West Brom find themselves in the same position whether it be this year, in a year's time, where they'll move Allardyce on because then they think, oh, we want to play a more attractive brand of football, we want to progress, and it won't be any better. So, unfortunately, they've been a yo-yo club for a very, very long time, and unless there's going to be financial backing of serious, then they're going to continue to be a yo-yo club. I think Sam might keep them up, though. He'll give them a chance. But if you ask me now, I think they'll probably still go down. They haven't got enough good players. Lauren Harris, you can have the last question of the afternoon. You get a £10 free bet now, and you have to stick it on top goal scorer. Who you going for? Harry Kane. Any game, any time, any place. I'll leave it there, guys, because it's 5:15, and I've got to do something with my Sky team before the Villa Burnley game starts. I'll turn this audio around quite soon. It was probably going to go out during the game, unfortunately. I've had a shitter of a day. Main podcast tomorrow. We're going to record that about 9 a.m. So we'll try and get that out for you about lunchtime. We'll review in detail all of the game week 13 games. Obviously, no Ask James tomorrow because we're doing that instead. Patrons, you've got a quiz coming up today, and we'll have the differential show. We're going to record that quite late for you tomorrow afternoon, so we get all the press conferences involved. Saturday, I'll be streaming on YouTube. Deadline stream 10 a.m. Monday, we will do a special looking at different perspectives of chips and how to try and deal with it as best as possible. We will do the detail on chips properly on Monday for you. And on Tuesday, we'll review all the games from game week 14 for you as well. If you want to support Planet FPL, this is with the bit we have to do the shout out and say you can sign up to Patreon. If you want to do something nice for Christmas, you can help feed my addiction to my job, which has become night and day now, but I'm loving it and enjoying it. If you support Planet FPL on Patreon, it's not going to make you a better FPL manager. It's probably going to make you worse, but you will enjoy FPL a lot more than you do now. That is the promise that I will make you. Enjoy your weekend, guys. Speak to you soon. For the benefit of those watching on the audio, or listening on the audio, cue music, please, man. Show.